Advancements in technology are part of our everyday lives and give us many conveniences, like advancements in medicine, manufacturing, and electronics. However, these advances are used by corporations to replace jobs and cause people to become unemployed. And with this notion, I developed the research question: to what degree does growing technology impact the workforce and those whose jobs are being replaced? This research question was largely inspired by Derek Thompson's A World Without Work, and where he explores the near future and how many corporations are looking to use technology and automation to replace workers. And he shows that this is already happening with the statistic that since 2000, nearly 5 million manufacturing jobs have been lost in the US. And all these people are experiencing many economic and social impacts from becoming unemployed. With unemployment, most people do think of the economic impacts, and there are many to go along with it. And it's shown that companies are able to make a large profit while hiring less people all the time. As shown with this statistic, in 1964, AT&T employed over 758,000 people and had a net worth of $267 billion. And in 2015, Google employed about 55,000 people and had a $370 billion net worth. So Google was able to amass a net worth in excess of AT&T's just 50 years earlier, while hiring over 10 times less employees. And as companies continue to use electronics, they're going to keep hiring less and less people while still being able to turn a large profit. And all these unemployed people are going to need to look for work somewhere, but as more companies develop the technology, they will continue to, there will not be any jobs for the people to be able to find and use. And unemployment and recession are linked very well, as shown by the 2009 recession, and where around 2009, unemployment for men and women spiked dramatically and had gone down as the economy recovered. And as more and more people become unemployed, there could be a recession along with it. And as people become unemployed, necessities are going to become harder to obtain for them. And families are going to be hit hard because there are going to be many expenses that come along with raising a family, and there will not be any cash flow for these families to do that. Now, something that goes along with the economics is the social impact of unemployment, which many people don't think of. And Derek Thompson explains this well with the example of Youngstown, Ohio, and where a major steel plant closed in the area, and in the years following, there were higher rates of suicide, higher depression rates, and more cases of spousal abuse. And the social cohesion of Youngstown was very devastated, and it took a large hit after the steel plant closed. And Donna Rothstein from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics stated that long-term unemployment may not only affect finances negatively, it may also adversely affect the physical and mental health of the unemployed and negatively affect the children's schooling outcomes. In this quote, there are two parts about how long-term unemployment affects finances negatively and the health. And the health and the children's schooling outcomes really go along together because the parents, they're stressing about trying to manage the finances of the family, and they don't have enough time to help their children with their schoolwork or give them proper attention to allow them to develop. Now, the social and economic lens really tie in well with futuristic and all really go well with it. And McKinsey, a global consulting company, stated that as many as 45% of the activities that individuals are paid to perform today can be automated by adopting currently demonstrated technologies. And these activities represent about $2 trillion in annual wages. And the first part shows that since there's 45% of jobs can be replaced already, imagine in a decade how many more jobs could be replaced and how many companies are going to be using technology to replace these jobs. And now about $2 trillion in annual wages could be replaced, and all this money that would not be going to the workers, so spending would reduce, and the company's profit would reduce by that, and they look to make more budget cuts by not employing as many people and using technology more, just worsening the problem. And the thing that I was inspired to do by Adam Smith's book was that he stated about how jobs that take more time to learn or are more difficult to perform will be paid more. And that made me think of the modern day equivalent, which would be college, and how a lot of newly graduated workers in the future may not have jobs to fill and may have large amounts of college debt they cannot pay off. And Lee Zhang showed that borrowing in colleges is continuing to rise to this day, as their borrowing was around $10,000 in 1993, and just 6 years later, in 1999, it had raised around $6,000 to $16,000. And all this borrowing could produce a massive college debt for citizens, and they would not be able to pay it off because there would not be no new jobs being opened and no new jobs being created. Therefore, they would not be able to pay off their college debt. And there's also social impacts that go along with college debt, as they saw that students with college debt often had higher stress levels than those who did not have college debt. Now, there is an argument that can be made that technology creates new jobs. And to a certain extent, this is true, as there have been more jobs created in software, computer science, and telecommunications. However, it is a very minuscule amount, as Derek Thompson said that only 5% of jobs created since 1993 were in high technology areas. So although there are jobs that have been created by these new technologies, there are many more jobs that are at risk of being destroyed or have already been destroyed, therefore overall increasing the amount of unemployed workers. Now, there are some solutions to this problem, and one economic solution would be to create a base wage for all unemployed workers. And this would allow people to not stress about finances as much and be able to afford basic necessities for their families. However, this would not deal with any of the social issues of the overall problem. However, it could be used in collaboration with the second solution, which would be to create mandatory community service for all citizens, which would really give people a meaning in life and being able to help the community, like by planting trees to help the environment or building houses for homeless people. These two working together could be a very good solution. However, they could be avoided with like false injury claims in order to not have to do community service, much like people do with welfare today. And another separate solution would be for the government to simply create restrictions where companies would have to employ a certain amount of people in order to keep the unemployment rate from going up very high. In conclusion, we know that technology is going to continue to advance and companies will want to use it for their advantage in maximizing profit. And finding solutions is going to be very important for this problem in order to keep the social stability of the world and country together.
Okay, a couple of questions, Daniel. The first one is, what information did you need that you were not able to find or locate, and then how did you go about trying to find that information?
Some information that I found really difficult to find was outside of Derek Thompson's work, more information on the social aspect. I did find certain articles, but many of them were inconclusive. One done by Jaap Nieuwenhuis, who is a professor from Sweden, and I didn't use it because he was inconclusive in his findings. However, he looked to see if like poor communities and unemployment affected people's work ethic. However, since it was inconclusive, it really didn't work well with the social lens overall, and there was just not tons of information to go along with it.
Good. And then your second one is, if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted related to the issue?
Some additional research I would have done would definitely have been to strengthen the solutions. I feel like I didn't have tons of evidence to back up what I was claiming. There was certain evidence that was weaker that I didn't end up using because of time restraints, but overall I think I would have needed some evidence to show how the government could create restrictions if it was successful, or how community service would help people just have a meaning in life. But there wasn't really evidence to go along with that.